We talked things out and everything is better between us now since I acknowledged my screw-up. I explained to him my constant need to be perceived as someone who's chill and laid back, someone who's nonchalant basically, for no reason other than it looks cool and I don't want to be vulnerable around people. That's the real reason behind this entire mess, and he understood and respected the way I acknowledged it and said that I'd work on it instead of just pushing it all down and bottling my feelings up. He also apologized for being rude to me, but I don't think he needed to do that. He did that because he's a good man and because he loves me, which really makes me think that I won in life. After we were done with dinner, we finally spoke about and addressed what had happened the other day with Diane and Sharon. I hadn't heard from either of them after the party and after my fight with Sean. It had all been driven out of my mind anyway. However, Sharon had constantly been texting him to make him apologize to Diane, who was allegedly inconsolable and overcome with grief because of the way Sean had behaved with her. I had to try really hard not to roll my eyes when I was reading the text that Sharon had been sending my husband to guilt trip him into apologizing to that woman. Sharon was trying to make it seem like the cake and the whole almost anniversary gag was just that, a joke, and there was nothing that they were implying with it, but I call BS on it. This is a married guy that we're talking about here, and surely they'd have enough brains to realize how inappropriate and disrespectful this was to me. They went ahead with it because they wanted to humiliate me at the party, so they couldn't just write our feelings off saying it's just a joke and that Sean had taken things too far. The audacity to even suggest that Sean and I had taken it too far and had disrespected them with that outburst, and then our walkout was just laughable. Sean had been ignoring her texts anyway, and today, after I saw those texts, we officially decided to go no contact with her. We'd had enough of her nonsense and wanted no part of this anymore. Update 2. 3 days ago, Sean and I blocked Sharon and Diane on all our social media, and he told his dad that he didn't want to speak to his mother anymore. His dad respected that because he understands Sean's feelings, but he also refuses to interfere now since he also loves his wife and knows that he can't leave her. So he's staying out of this completely like he has for the past couple of years. I'm not on board with my father-in-law's behavior, but I can't help it either. Everything was going well for the past 2 days, but today, Sean suddenly called me out of the blue and said that he had to head to the hospital ASAP because apparently his mother had fallen from the top of the stairs and had fractured her leg. His maternal uncle had been the one to inform him, and he left as soon as he heard, as did I. We reached the hospital that his uncle had mentioned at around the same time, but before we could even enter, Sharon stopped us in our tracks and she was completely fine. She and Diane had ambushed us in the parking area of the hospital and told us that this was the only way to get Sean's attention because he blocked them everywhere. My showing up was something they hadn't accounted for, but they just ignored me and went on talking with Sean completely normally as if they hadn't done anything wrong. Diane tried to explain to him that whatever she'd done at the party had been a prank and she didn't intend to offend him, while Sharon backed her up. Sean heard them out for a while, then told his mom and ex to F off right to their shocked faces and walked away once more with me. When we tried to get into our respective cars, Sharon started screaming at us, but we didn't wait around to hear her out. I'm sure she was cursing us out, but it didn't matter because she'd lied her way into seeing Sean again, and I couldn't imagine anything more manipulative than that. Sean went back home from the hospital because he was too stressed, but I had to go back to work. While I was at work, I received a text from a number I didn't recognize, and it happened to be Sean's mother. She screamed at me for 15 whole seconds before I managed to disconnect the call. I'd just been caught off guard while working, or else I wouldn't even have answered the call, but she was screaming at me. All I heard was selective swear words at the highest volume. I don't know why she was mad at me because I didn't have anything to do with Sean's behavior. She'd pushed her own son to this extent, not me. Anyway, I blocked her and tried to get on with my day, and finally, when I got back home around 6, I got to speak to Sean. He told me that he'd also blocked the rest of his relatives who were close to his mother along with his uncle because now it was clear that she'd go to any lengths to get him to forgive them and talk. That's all we can do right now because it's not like they're threatening us in any way, and neither are they consistently stalking us or whatever, so a restraining order is out of the question anyway. Sean has talked to his dad and told him about what happened today, but he still refuses to intervene. It's his choice and Sean loves his dad, so I'm not saying anything right now, but I don't think the way my father-in-law is acting is a great example of being a good father either. The least he can do is at least talk to his wife and stand up for his son, but he refuses to do even that much. Sean loves his father, but the man has never once stood up for him when it comes to Sharon, and I've only kept my mouth shut out of respect for their relationship. Or else I'd have a lot to say about how his entire family is just ridiculously stupid people who literally never think of anything except themselves. How a man like Sean is a part of a family like this, I'll never understand. Update 3. Hey, everyone. So it's been a week since the last update, and yesterday, we decided to file for a restraining order against Sharon and Diane because of something they did to me. Or at least tried to do, to be more precise. So I was coming back from work the other day, like 3 days back, and it was a Thursday that day. On Thursdays, I usually stop at a coffee shop near my office and get myself a frappuccino as a little treat. Last Thursday, I was about to do the same, but as soon as I entered the shop, Diane and Sharon left their seats where they'd been waiting for me and came right at me with their coffees. Before I could even react, both of them had splashed me in the face with it, and then Diane even grabbed some of the whipped cream from her cup and dumped it onto my hair. I was stunned and just sort of froze on the spot for a while before the baristas rushed to help me clean up a little. They tried their best and made sure to get it all off, so a huge shout out to them for literally abandoning their jobs to help me and even the other customers who waited patiently while I tried to wipe it all off. My clothes were all sticky and gross and my hair was disgusting, but I was a lot cleaner by the time I was done. Some of the other customers made sure I was alright and one asked me if I wanted to call a cop, which I did and reported Diane and Sharon. I pressed charges against them, but they got off with nothing more than a slap on the wrist and a fine because this was just a misdemeanor and hadn't actually harmed me. Unless you're talking about my clothes from that day, which I can't wear to work again because of the faded brown coffee stain all over the front. Nevertheless, we did press charges, and that went on their record, so that'll help with the case. Sean wanted to take this public and post about this on social media so that more and more people would know and stay away from Diane and also his mom, but changed his mind when he realized that I just wanted to move on from this without any more discussion. Honestly, that incident kind of shook me up, and it sounds silly, I know, but it did make me think that if things were worse, then it could have easily been something more than just them throwing coffee at my face. They could have seriously hurt me if they wanted to, because they knew my routine for my social media and they knew my address, so this could have gone south easily. Sean and I have had a decent financial year, so we'd already been considering moving, and now, after what happened, we definitely will be moving. We'd also been thinking about having babies and we're going to start trying soon enough, but my in-laws won't ever get to meet my kids. We've cut off my father-in-law as well after he refused to intervene even after the coffee incident. Sean got into a big fight with him and then cut him off as well. I, for one, am relieved that I won't be seeing or hearing from these people ever again now.